This episode of Creep Street Podcast is brought to you by Martini Coffee Roasters. Martini Coffee Roasters is not a martini-flavored coffee. In fact, it is a family-owned and operated company run by the Martini family. And while I'm sure they enjoy a good cocktail, they are all about that high-quality, smooth, flavorful coffee. Unlike many other roasters, Martini Coffee Roasters roast manually using a traditional method of roasting, most relying on sight and sound to ensure the best results, okay? This is quality, people. This is artisanal. This is handmade. This is what you're wanting. And not only that, but they also sell green coffee beans for those home roasters out there. So please support small businesses and check out Martini Coffee Roasters at martinicoffee.com. Once again, check out Martini Coffee Roasters at martinicoffee.com.
You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
And this is Creep Street. Real quick up top, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod. And within our Facebook, we have another subgroup called Citizens of the Milky Way, a Creep Street fan page. Anyone is welcome to join that when you're on our page. Just look for it. You know, everyone's welcome. You click a little thing that says, that asks permission to let you in. We'll let you in no matter what.
It's
so
just
good.
a formality.
Just a formality. Also, we have a Patreon, where all of our Patreon subscribers get all sorts of delicious goodies every month. And, you know what? Let me list for you the names of our Patreon donors.
Okay, I'm listening.
Of course, the Dream, James Watkins. The Finished Face via Alongfist. The Madman, Marcus Hall. The Vivacious, Vicky McHugh. The Tenacious, Teresa Hackworth. The Heartbreak Kid, Chris Hackworth. The oh-so-suave Sean Richardson. The British Bonebreaker, Bex Martin. The Notorious Nicholas Barker. The Terrifying Taylor Lashmet. The Count of Cool, Cameron Corliss. And the Archduke of Attitude, Adam Archer. Yeah.
Ooh, thank you for reading off those names.
I just want to give a quick little shout out to the Dream, James Watkins. Tell him we love him. Probably, I think our very first Patreon subscriber. Yeah. We love him to death. And
A-plus guy. And
greatest
we're
guy
happy to have you with us.
Happy to have him with us.
And if you are looking for other ways to support the podcast, please consider doing a 5-star review.
Yes.
An upvote. Not an upvote.
What
this.
Yeah.
Share it. Tell a friend. Tell your mom. Tell one of your cousins about it.
Spread evangelize Creep Street. Evangelize.
Please. That's right, baby.
But Maureen, let's get to the thick of it. Let's get to what we're talking about.
Let's talk about it.
This one has been requested a lot.
This has been requested. This for sure has been requested by the lovely Cleo, a.k.a. 30 Laundry.
Yeah.
She has a great lifestyle blog / Instagram account called 30 Laundry. We highly recommend you check that out. She recommended this. I believe other people recommended this as well.
Nikki Ivy, another Cape Town resident. Like, I believe 30 Laundry is also from Cape Town.
I think so, yeah.
Which, by the way, Cape Town and Johannesburg have consistently been our biggest overseas cities.
Yeah,
Manila,
feel the love. We feel the love.
Philippines, Quezon City, Philippines. But yeah, man, a lot of love.
Thank you for listening down in South Africa.
That's right.
I mean, what an unexpected joy.
What a treat.
Unexpected gift.
What a treat.
Today we are talking about the Winchester Mystery House.
That's right. It's sunny California, I believe, right?
Sunny California, but this story has its roots over in not so sunny, but sometimes Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
So I used some great sources this week. The main source was an article I read called The Truth About Sarah Winchester by Richard Allen Wagner.
All right, liking that.
Yes, a very, very in-depth look at what really Sarah Winchester was all about. She was the one who constructed the Winchester Mystery House.
Right, because it's all about Sarah, because by the time it starts, her husband's dead, right?
That's right. Okay. Spoiler alert. Just kidding. It's not a spoiler. It's just what occurred. So some of you may have heard of this story. Obviously, we're going to go into more detail as this goes on, but the brief kind of overview, the general overview, is that a woman during the late 1800s, early 1900s, created this very vast, expansive, maze-like home, what is now San Jose, California. And people have thought for many years that maybe the reason why she created this home was because of some sort of ghost activity or some sort of paranormal concerns she had about a curse placed on her and her family. It has even sprouted out many different I'm sure YouTube videos that you can find of paranormal investigations. And of course, the movie Winchester, starring the beautiful, the lovely, the tenacious Helen Mirren.
Yeah. I remember the movie itself, not that good, but obviously we love Helen Mirren. We love all the ingredients. It's
Absolutely.
just the movie was garbage.
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you put all the right stuff in there, but but the baking soda was 10 years old and you didn't know it. So that is what the general kind of consensus is over the Winchester Mystery House.
Right.
But this is Creep Street, baby.
Oh, baby.
I think we're going to find some new interesting thoughts, questions, queries,
Amen.
and revelations. So Sarah Winchester was not always Sarah Winchester, okay? She was actually born Sarah Lockwood Pardee. So Sarah was born in 1839 in New Haven, Connecticut. Now, Sarah was a very, very intelligent, bright young girl. By the age of 12, Sarah was fluent in Latin, French, Spanish, and Italian, and English.
Hot damn. Wow.
So she clearly was very, very bright. She also had very vast knowledge of Homer and Shakespeare. So for these reasons alone, she would be just like a catch at 10.
Right.
Obviously, when she's older than 12. Just the 12 part was when she had learned those languages, obviously. But it wasn't just that. She was also beautiful. I believe she only grew to be like 4'10".
Oh, really?
So she was very, very small.
I didn't know that.
And I read one article that was like, she only grew to be 4'10". And because of that, they called her the Belle of New Haven.
Oh, wow.
I don't think that's why they called her. I don't think that the only thing that people find attractive is being under 5 feet tall. I think that article worded that weird. I think it was she was beautiful and she
was the size of a small bell.
And she it's not about it's,
I know.
I thought
like bell as in BLLE.
I thought yes, that's right. So anyway, I thought that was weird that they said that. So because of her good looks, her vast knowledge, and apparently because she was small, she was dubbed the Belle of New Haven. Now, something that was happening in the area that had a huge influence on Sarah was this, I don't know what the right word is, idea, this theory, this thought that Sir Francis Bacon was actually the original author of all of Shakespeare's plays.
Oh, so it was just that idea was taking off around this time.
And it started in New Haven.
I didn't even realize that. I thought that this was more of a recent phenomenon. That people started to question the original authorship. I didn't realize that this had been a thing.
One of Sarah's friends' aunts actually wrote this. I don't know if you would call it an essay or a manifesto. I don't really know what you would call it, but basically brought this up, being like Sir Francis Bacon, aka Old English dude, different Old English dude, was the actual writer of Shakespeare.
Interesting.
So this was an idea that was at least somewhat supported. Obviously, I'm not an expert about this, but I do know that Nathaniel Hawthorne, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Mark Twain were all at least interested in this idea and gave it more, at least they were interested in this, okay? So it was a popular, well-known theory that was going around. And Sir Francis Bacon was very intermixed and was very influential, I guess you could say, on the Freemasons. Now, a lot of people in Sarah's family, the Pardee family, were members of the Freemasons.
Right.
And when Sarah was young, she went to Yale's only female scholastic institution, which was called the Young Ladies Collegiate Institute. There, two of the highest ranking professors were also Freemasons. So it's obvious that Sarah was surrounded by Freemasonry,
Right.
and kind of the ideals and the influences and the emphasis on math and
Right.
liberal arts and education was very, very important to her.
Right,
It was not just important to her, she was just surrounded by it.
Right.
It was with her family, it was at school, it was just in New Haven in general.
Right.
Eventually, a arranged marriage is put together between Sarah Pardee and William Winchester.
Okay. Old Billy Winchester.
There's where the Winchester comes in. And Billy Winchester's family also was full of Freemasons as well.
Oh,
So just kind of keep that in
Interesting.
mind.
And obviously, you said this already, but Freemasonry is a huge topic.
Oh my God, it's so much. It is
a
overwhelming.
Huge topic that we are going to probably tackle in bits
Yes.
because it's going to pop up in a lot of other stories we do that don't focus on it.
Right.
Like, for example, here. So probably what we're going to do is as shows go by and as we start to get that injected, start to get Freemasonry injected into our stories,
Yeah.
it'll be kind of a good base for when we eventually do a full thing on it.
Yes.
So just so people know, we're going to be glazing over the Freemasonry stuff.
Yeah, it is. Freemasonry is fascinating. It is one of the, classic secret society. It's a secret, so everyone wants to know more and more, and that adds to the
That's
allure,
right.
adds to the drama.
Everybody wants a piece.
Everybody wants a piece of that. So it is one of the more well-known secret societies,
Right.
and its secrets, or at least some of its secrets, are no longer full-on secrets.
Right.
But it's still a very complex and deep history.
Yeah.
And also it has a lot to do with numbers and math. And you guys, I can't do it. I don't understand math. I never have. The only thing I can really do is addition and subtraction because I worked at a restaurant where there were no computers on site. And so we had to do everything by hand. So that I can do, but anything else, it's too hard. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Sarah and William got married on September 30th, 1862.
All right.
And as I said, this was an arranged marriage between the families. These two families, the Pardee family and the Winchester family, they had previously known each other before the marriage of Sarah and William. I believe they went to the same church. They both were, kind of high roller, fancy people in Connecticut. So you kind of know, the squad. But even though this was an arranged marriage, Sarah and William actually were very much in love.
Oh,
and
okay.
it was a happy marriage, at least for the most part that I'm aware of.
Well, that's nice.
So that is good. That's one of those things. And at this point, the Winchester family, they were involved in a few different things. Really, their main thing was kind of a outfitter. I believe it was for like men's clothes. The Winchester family was very wealthy from that. But they eventually got into the business, which really kind of adds to the lore of this story. Which is the Winchester repeating rifle. And this was a very highly sought after gun that was very, very popular.
This came out kind of at the peak of the Civil War, and this rifle, I believe it could hold up to like 16 bullets inside of it. You got to think like a lot of people are using muskets at this time, which after every shot you've got to load it, you've got to like actually pack it in with the powder and everything.
Yeah, you might have seen like videos of this, or at least in American schools, sometimes these like people will come to do reenactments.
Right.
So that's why I actually know what this looks like. But it takes a long time. You shoot and then you have to reload it again, like put the stick down the barrel, put it in, and it takes a long time.
This had a lever at the bottom, so after every shot, you cock that lever. It would take you less than 3 seconds till you could fire off another shot, and it was more accurate than muskets, so it was like a no-brainer. Everyone from the military to hunters to everyone wanted this rifle all over the world.
Exactly. And it was very highly regarded. It wasn't used a ton by the U.S. military because it was actually too expensive to use a lot, but it was very popular for many people, but especially for those who were traveling west, maybe for the California Gold Rush, or there's a huge migration west at the time. So this gun was referred to as the gun that won the West.
Yeah.
And it was also a favorite of Buffalo Bill and Annie Oakley. Yeah. So this was a big, big deal. So when Sarah marries into the Winchester family, they were not in the gun game, or at least they weren't really in the gun game.
Right.
It wasn't until after she joined the family that kind of happened. And also she, at least at that point, was really not involved with the business end of that at all. So as I said, they got married in 1862, and on July 12th, 1866, Sarah gave birth to a baby girl, Anne Pardee Winchester. But very, very sadly, Annie would only live to be about 6 weeks old. She was born with this disease that was called marasmus, where basically her body wasn't able to, I don't know if it was to break down the proteins or exactly, but essentially her body couldn't get sustenance from food.
Oh,
so
that's too bad.
I know. Unfortunately, she only lived to be about 6 weeks old.
Wow.
And of course, this absolutely devastated Sarah and William.
Right.
William really threw himself into his work trying to distract himself. But unfortunately, William died about 12 years later at the age of 43 from tuberculosis. So at this point, Sarah has lost her daughter and her husband. And really from then on, she really just grieves really for the rest of her life and was so heartbroken by how she lost the loves of her life. But one thing that happened was she did get a huge inheritance of the Winchester fortune. So she inherited 50% of the Winchester Arms stock.
Whoa.
And so she inherited about $20 million. She earned about $1,000 per day just for the rest of her life, just in royalties.
Right.
As her inheritance.
Right.
And this was in 1881.
Right. 20 million already pretty good today.
Yeah.
20 million in, what was that, 18 what?
1881. I believe that's over $500 million.
Okay, so she's doing okay.
Yes,
She's doing okay. She can go ahead and get the wallpaper.
She can get the wallpaper, you know.
She can go ahead and get the hair done.
Okay, get your nails done. You deserve it. You can afford it. And that's kind of what she did. She went on a 3-year-long worldwide tour.
Stand-up tour, which was weird.
I know. She actually sold out.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. We don't really know a ton about what she was doing at this time. There are some people that believe that she was maybe checking out some French Masonic lodges.
Oh.
Because with her connections and money, and she could possibly gain entrance into the Freemasons in France, possibly. The kind of big rule with Freemasonry at the time was no women allowed. And some lodges still today don't do women allowed, some do. So at the time, it was possible. You could be a woman and a Freemason. It just didn't happen very often. But
when you're talking Winchester money, suddenly the rules get bent.
You add Winchester money and you add France in. The France don't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, come on, join our club. We literally don't care. But in 1884, Sarah returned to the U.S. and she took up residence in the San Francisco Bay Area. She bought a home, which now would be in San Jose. At the time, it was called the Santa Clara Valley. So she moved here for a few reasons. Let's talk about it. One, she'd been living in Connecticut her whole life. Right. It's very cold.
She's got that cheddar now. She's got that cheese coming in. Baby.
Yeah, I mean, she's always had the cheese, but now she's got the Gruyere. Well, she's also it's cold there, and I guess a lot of her family had moved to California because of the gold rush.
Right.
So she was like, I can be closer to some of my family here. There you go.
Right.
So the home that Sarah bought was a fairly small, it was an 8-room farmhouse, and she bought it from Dr. Robert Caldwell. And it also was a huge expanse of land that she bought as well, over 100 acres. And that is when she began a home renovation that never ended. This is like HGTV all the time in your face. She never formally worked with an architect. There was never a real blueprint that was made for the home.
Right.
She kind of just made it up as she went along, and she came up with the plans, and she had a bunch of people under her hire. That was one of the first things she did. I believe she hired like 20 contractors.
Wow.
She paid everyone, all of the workers, extremely well, about double what some people would make for a similar job elsewhere in the area. And she just started adding more and more and more on.
Because she's already, like we know, she's got about the equivalent of half a bill.
Right.
And then she's getting an extra thou every day, which you got to think 1,000 in 1881 is more than 1,000. You know, obviously $1,000 today would be wonderful too, but even then, so you got to think she couldn't spend this money if she fucking tried.
Exactly. It's like this is, at this point, her money, it's one of those times where it's like money actually doesn't matter. Like there's nothing, like she will always have that money coming in. Like she's like one of the cast members of Friends or Michael Jordan.
Right.
You know, she's just like literally always making money just sitting there. She's never going to worry about running out of money for this project.
Right.
But things about this house were very strange. There would be staircases that led to nowhere, doors that would open up to nothing, big doors leading to small rooms, small doors leading to big rooms. Sometimes there would be skylights only to be covered by a roof, or there would be a skylight covered by another skylight.
So weird.
There is also a skylight on the floor. There's a door on the second floor that opens up directly outside to a 2-story drop.
Right.
There are mazes in different wings, rooms within rooms, different passageways to get from room to room. It's very, very confusing. Now, the lore is that before she started construction on this home, that Sarah Winchester was told by a medium that she needed to continue building her home to confuse spirits from being able to find her, because she believed that her family was cursed by all of those who had been killed by the Winchester repeating rifle. She had obviously experienced extreme heartbreak and trauma in her life between the death of her daughter and her husband. There isn't an exact number of how many people were killed by the Winchester repeating rifle. However, like we said, you could shoot 12 or 16 rounds at once, whereas before you could only shoot one before you would have to reload. So you don't really, it's not much of a stretch in saying that the Winchester repeating rifle probably killed more people than many other guns at the time. So, and she had experienced a lot of this hardship in her life.
Right.
And also creating a home like this is very weird.
And it seems that all this hardship came after the rifle came into the mix, right? After, like, it wasn't until they started selling this that it became.
Exactly.
Which I gotta say, that's expecting a lot of brand loyalty out of ghosts.
I know.
When you think that the ghost is gonna come after you because you made the win, that'd be like the CEO of Honda being afraid that anyone who's ever died in a Honda car accident, that a ghost is coming after. They're gonna
go
after
specifically after the Honda.
Now, honestly, I know obviously a car isn't made to kill people like a rifle is, but that's expecting a lot of brand loyalty.
Yes.
Luke from York Knife, if you're listening, I hope those knives you're making are only getting used for camping and outdoorsmanship, because if anyone dies, you got to start building, buddy.
You got to start building your house. You got to start doing a fucked up renovation that will never end.
Yeah.
That is a part of the lore, was that Sarah Winchester had her workers working on her house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, from 1886 when she bought the property until 1922 when she died. The thought was maybe the constant banging of hammers and saws and things like that would also scare the ghosts away, as well as just being constantly confused and turned around by everything that was happening in the house.
Right.
It's also part of the lore that Sarah Winchester had a seance room, and that every single night at midnight she would conduct a seance to try and contact these people who have passed that wished her harm or wished her family harm, or these people that had passed because of the Winchester rifle. It is also said that she would sleep in a different bed every night to kind of throw off the ghosts. And this is where I'm kind of confused. I'm like, so if she's throwing off the ghosts, I don't really know like why she's having seances. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe just don't invite them to your house.
Exactly. Well, the other thing is you're putting a lot of faith in that ghosts can get misdirected in a confusing layout of a house.
Where it's like, why would they follow those rules on their realm?
Like, why are blueprints a problem for them? You know what I mean? Like, are they going to walk into a room going, Sarah? Oh, shit.
Oh, my God, it's a
No one's in here.
Oh, it's a staircase that leads, oh, my God.
Nowhere? This is bullshit, okay? I'm going to go haunt the Honda guy.
But yeah, it's like, I don't really get that. And then also sometimes people are like, yeah, well, she did the seances to find out her orders from the plans from the ghosts for the next day, when it's like, but don't we want to confuse the ghosts? Yeah. It's a little unclear.
You don't think that ghost is going to rat you out to the others?
Right. Or it's like, why would you even take their advice? Isn't the whole point that we're trying to confuse the ghosts? It's like, why would we don't need your input. Quite the opposite for our goal.
Right.
Actually.
Right.
Sir. However, it's not completely asinine to think that Sarah Winchester was conducting seances.
Okay.
It was very, as we've talked about before, it was very popular at the time. Spiritualism was really at its biggest it had ever been at that point, with after the Civil War, with so many soldiers not coming home. But it was not only popular in the US, it was popular abroad as well. And since she had lost close people to her, it's not out of the question that she would conduct a seance. But there's no evidence that she met with that medium that told her that she needed to continue building the house and all that stuff. There's no evidence that she was necessarily afraid of ghosts necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, she was a very private person.
Right.
So it is possible that she did have this guilty conscience about her family business and how she got her money. That's totally possible. But that's really never been confirmed. And that's a little bit more of not a legend, but that's a little bit more of a
speculation.
Yes, exactly. It's very, very speculative.
Right. Doesn't mean it's not true, but you can't confirm it.
Because it is an insane thing for her to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be building this house that is about 24,000 square feet, has 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 160 rooms.
There's 2,000 doors?
Yes.
How is that?
Because there's lots of doors that lead to nothing. There's lots of doors that lead to nowhere in this house.
Oh my God.
Or doors that lead to the closet of another bedroom. This place actually really reminds me of this amazing museum/hotel called the Mansion on O, I believe, or it's the Mansion on O and O or something like that. It's in Washington D.C. And it is one of the most amazing places I've ever seen. I'll have to post it on our social media, but it really reminds me of this, where it's this really beautiful home, but it has like so many different secret passageways, like a bookcase opens up into a wine cellar. Yeah, it's really, really incredible. If there's any DC listeners out there,
absolutely.
But anyway, back to the Winchester house. 24,000 square feet, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 52 skylights, 47 stairways, and 47 fireplaces.
Dear God. Are they complete with chimney and everything?
Well, there are 17 chimneys.
Jesus, mother of God. And how many fireplaces altogether?
47. But some fireplaces can use one chimney.
You're right.
There was 13 bathrooms and 6 kitchens. Overall, it was built at a price tag of $5 million, which in today's money is about $71 million.
Woo, baby.
That's right. So even though this house was, or still is, it's still there, we have got to go whenever we can. I don't think they're open right now, but hopefully the Winchester house will be open for tours soon and we can take a little trip out to sunny California, baby. Anyway, it really is very confusing, and the layout is bizarre and can almost be dangerous sometimes. However, it was very, very intentionally created.
Right.
Every single thing had a reason, and everything there at least had a thought. Sometimes things wouldn't work out and they would take it down and try again, but everything, did have a purpose.
It almost makes me wonder that, like you said, everything had a purpose, even though it didn't make sense. But I wonder if in her head, there was it all connected somehow.
Yes.
Like if it actually, if you could see it, what her intent was, it would actually maybe make sense.
That's funny you say that because that is correct.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is what was happening. As we've brought up throughout the episode, Freemasonry definitely made a huge impact on Sarah's life, and she might have herself even been a Mason. And it seems like the construction of this house is 100% a reflection of her thoughts and her journey with Freemasonry.
Really?
And going through the house is supposed to be some kind of initiation, that this house is a puzzle. And there is, I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know if that means there's a treasure or a secret or an answer that is hidden somewhere within the walls physically or metaphysically. I don't know. And this is where some specifics with Freemasonry really come in. I am not an expert in this. So obviously, Freemasonry is a secret society. So a lot of these details are confusing and hard to understand. The Freemasons are really into numbers. They're numbers guys. There's a huge importance on prime numbers. Yeah. And if there's any number heads in here, you might have noticed when I was listing off some of the stats of the house, there are a lot of prime numbers.
Yeah.
7 comes in a lot, 11 comes in a lot, and 13 comes in a lot as well.
I mean, all these numbers are prime in my book.
Okay, they are prime. So it's not just the numbers, but also there is a lot of symbolism and other numbered code that go along with these specific Baconian, I think that's how you would say it, Francis Bacon, his kind of brand. The front of the Winchester Mystery House, it faces true east, and east represents a source of light, knowledge, and wisdom. The gates to the house are decorated with a sun symbol and also an 8-petaled daisy. Now, the daisy has a strong importance in Masonry because of math. I don't know. I don't understand it. It's got 8 petals and then it has 24. I don't understand it. But then it makes this cool shape that's important with math. So that's the importance there. Right. There was also stained glass everywhere. That's gorgeous. But there's these 2 in the front of the house. There are these 2 stained glass windows that have Shakespeare quotes on them. These quotes are from Troilus and Cressida and Richard II. And the one with Richard II, I think, is very funny because in the play, there's a line where he says, "Yes, I'll hammer it out." That's just kind of funny because Richard II was like, "Yeah, I'll work on this." And then Sarah took it a little bit more of a literal way. And she was literally hammering it out. I don't know if she had that in mind or if that's just a coincidence, but I just thought that was funny. Sarah's house is often compared to an M.C. Escher drawing as well. M.C. Escher was a Dutch artist who was alive around the same time, which is interesting. We'll also post this on our social media. Feel free to Google him too. But he draws these pictures that have very similar to the house, kind of like stairs leading to nowhere or stairs, kind of like optical illusion type drawing necessarily. Escher and Sarah had a very similar view at the time. And I quote from my source here, they say, "They both made use of architectural devices and features that defy the conventions of ordinary three-dimensional space. In fact, Escher, like Sarah, shows us seemingly impossible stairs and pillars." Now, Escher, he thought that reflective images in mirrors, that was a true representation of higher dimensional space.
Okay.
And that is something that Baconian Freemasonry and Sarah as well were really in tune with. Kind of the idea was, it seems to me that using math and numbers and architecture, that was the real way to be able to go through through an initiation process to join the Masonry, but also because in our dimension right now, that's really the only way we can, not even necessarily access, but the way that we can understand a higher dimension.
So in a way, I don't know if this is exactly the same, but in a way, it's kind of like sacred geometry. Which is something we'll talk about, and it's the belief that like certain geometrical shapes, whether it's a star, a pentagram, that there is actual power in certain geometrical shapes and angles, and so fascinating stuff.
And that is very similar to what Sarah was interested in too. I mean, it kind of seems to me like Freemasons are just kind of nerds who really like math, and they make ciphers for things, and so it's a way to turn things into numbers. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that's a really cool thing that there's got to be something to it. And this is what I am just not that kind of person. I'm not a numbers gal.
Right. It kind of, especially when you're trying to do it
my brain
for like an episode like this, when you're trying to sort of summarize such a complex idea into a single podcast episode that isn't even focused on that subject.
Right.
It's kind of a lot. So very sorry if it's just a lot to try to consume and regurgitate.
Exactly.
So we apologize if some of this isn't making sense. This is one of those things, like we said, we'll cover the Freemasons, but we want to do it little by little.
Because there's so much more that we need to be able to know about before we can really like do an episode on as well. Yeah, so I had no idea that the Freemasons would really have anything to do with this, but it really does make sense. And this is a real thing. This isn't just something that like maybe Sarah Winchester decided to try these things out and think, oh, maybe if I build a house like this, something will happen, or I'll be able to understand something, or I'll get closer to understanding something. She's not the only person to do this. This is somewhat common even. At the Roslin Chapel in Scotland, there's some Freemasonic symbolism there. And there is a staircase that leads to nowhere in that chapel as well. And there is 11 circuit labyrinth at the French Cathedral of Chartres. So, I mean, this is not a idea that just goes along with her.
It's everywhere.
But even though it is so fun and exciting to say that Sarah Winchester built this house to confuse ghosts, and because she felt like she was haunted, she slept in a different room every night because she thought she was outsmarting ghosts, things like that. That is interesting, and there could be elements of that, of course. That just doesn't really make sense. It's like if she really was so concerned about it, I don't know why she would, like I was saying before, try to be communicating with the ghosts.
Fucking around with Ouija boards and shit.
Right, exactly. Also, I don't know why she would move west if she was so concerned about living in this area where the Winchester won the West. It's like, why would you move west?
Yeah.
That doesn't really make any sense. Also, new information has come out. It turns out that she actually would stop construction for periods of time, and it wouldn't go for 24 hours a day. There's also lore that was saying that she had to live in that house until she died, which that wasn't the case. She actually did live somewhere else, especially after there was a earthquake in 1906 that barricaded Sarah in her room and actually knocked down, I believe, three or four stories of her house. It originally was 7 stories tall. So after that, she always was more frightened, and she had another home where she would stay sometimes. So even though it may not have the origin of the paranormal, people do say that they really feel some kind of way when they are in the mystery house.
Well, because Sarah did believe in ghosts. Like she did concern herself. Now, was that the cause of her building this wacky house? Maybe not, but she did believe. It wasn't like, truth is she actually didn't believe in this. She did believe in this stuff.
But also, it's like maybe so many people have come into that house being afraid, expecting to see something, that energy is kind of reflected back into the house. Also, because the house is created so bizarrely with doors leading nowhere and, all that sort of thing, the house can maybe seem scary and seem kind of haunted to you because there's so many corners. You can't see everything. You don't really know where you are. There are these like hallways that go for miles that you could get lost in. I mean, maybe that has a little bit more to do with the ghost sightings or at least just paranormal feelings that people get. I am so interested and fascinated and like exhilarated by this idea that there's something much grander possibly hidden in the walls of the Mystery House. And I don't mean literally hidden. I mean, maybe I do mean literally hidden in the walls. Right. But I just mean, what are these secrets? What is this puzzle that she left for us? Is there an answer? Was this kind of more of an exercise for her? Or is there really an end game here? She died in 1922 and it opened up for tours in 1923. And it's really been going ever since then. About 12 million people at least have visited the Mystery House, and it is an official California landmark.
Oh, okay. So I'm maybe the state then must run the...
They don't run. No, it's a private.
Oh, a private. Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. but it is a California landmark, and it really is a beautiful piece of architecture. As I think I've said before, the outside was American Queen Anne, which was very popular at the time, but the interior was a style called aesthetic movement, which was big at the time, which basically meant everything that is around you deserves to be beautiful. It was supposed to be morally uplifting and very enriching. There would be designs on hinges, designs on doorknobs. A radiator would have a design on it that was beautiful. So nothing was just there for just utility. Everything there was also beautiful. And I really love that. I think that is very interesting, and I think that adds to the importance that this space holds and that it has.
Wow. I had never heard of that concept before.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Totally. The inside had Persian influences, Greek influences, Egyptian, a lot of Japanese and Asian influences. And a part of the reason why I wonder if maybe she really leaned in so hard into this aesthetic movement so that everything would be ornate and really handcrafted. Everything was completed by highly skilled laborers, is because that was also, I believe, kind of the beginnings of Freemasonry. It was, Masons that were these highly skilled artisans, and they create a community. And I believe that's kind of how the origin story of Freemason. So I myself am curious about what that means. She also, though, was an innovator just in herself. She had 3 elevators in her home, which was not normal. She had one of the first showers ever.
Oh, wow.
Which is very exciting. She would be one of those kind of like older women that is like really hitting it up on TikTok. And she put faucets everywhere because she really enjoyed gardening, and she had rheumatoid arthritis. So as she aged, it was harder for her to get outside to garden. So having these faucets inside made it easier for her to garden indoors. Like, she really cared about the usefulness and the utility of things. She wanted to make life not only easier for her, but for servants as well. Like, she put this curved metal piece on the staircases to cover the corners of each stair so that it would be easier for her servants to clean the staircases because the dirt wouldn't get stuck in the corner. And just things like that. She was really ahead of her time. This house is beautiful. What a crazy story. If you guys know anything about being a Freemason or what even is this called? Fucking dimension numbers, high dimensional mathematics, whatever. If you guys know about, or just about numbers in general, I just kind of know the names of them. Yeah. Let us know what you guys think. Email us at creepstreetpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us on social media. Let us know. Chat with each other. I mean, this is a crazy story that's kind of left to be figured out.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for the Winchester Mystery House. Maureen, thank you so much for all of that research.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, if you want to support this show, go to patreon.com/creepstreetpodcast. My name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
Citizens of the Milky Way, good night.
And
goodbye.
Goodbye.